All right, great job. Great NFL rundown today. Good work by everybody involved. Oh, man. I so badly wish we were starting this week in a better mood, man. I know I appreciate you guys listening, but you're like, these were always the hardest shows. Now granted, I don't do 4 hours anymore, but these were always the hardest shows where you don't necessarily want to talk about the thing that's making you so mad. The first time I ever experienced this, it was when the Heat, this is back in 2005, Shaq's first year with the Heat, when the Heat lost Game 7 against the Detroit Pistons. Now, I wasn't hosting my own show yet. I was producing Boog Shambi, but I was on the air a lot, and obviously I was expected to talk a lot about the Heat because that was my thing, And I remember for the first time I was driving to work that day, that morning, I was like, I don't feel like talking about this today. Because when you're just a fan, we want to kind of avoid it, right? Like, oh, don't talk to me about the Dolphins today. I'm not ready to talk about it. There are plenty of people who don't want to talk about the Dolphins today. So these kind of shows, and again, I'm not doing 4 hours anymore. Maybe we'll get there one day, but get more sponsors on board. We'll get to 4 hours. But these are the kind of days where it's tough doing the whole show on the thing that is making you mad. And it's probably also tough on you guys where, do you necessarily want to be hearing about the thing that's making you mad? So I really appreciate you guys who choose to, hey, you know what? Let's put on ZASLOW Show 2.0, whatever, podcast platform you listen on, and let's hear him bitch about the Dolphins. And I got to hear him bitch about the Dolphins. And even though it's the thing that I don't want to hear about right now. It's like I totally get that. And I really appreciate all you guys. Hey, make sure you like, you rate, you comment, you do all that stuff for the algorithm. That always helps me. No guests on the show today, but you guys know every time we do have guests on the program, they come to us courtesy of Johnny Cuba. Johnny Cuba lifestyle brand. Saw my man Juan the other day, the whole Johnny Cuba team. We actually met up at Unbranded Brewery down in Hialeah. That's the brewery that has CCW, Coastal Championship Wrestling, the first Saturday of every month, which I think I'm going to go back. My guy Nelio, I think I'm going to go back the beginning of February, the first Saturday in February. I can't the first Saturday in January, but the first Saturday in February, I think I'm going to be back there. I want to go to another CCW show. But anyway, we were at Unbranded Brewery a few days ago. Whole Johnny Cuba crew right there. My man Juan, like I said. Hey, grab yourself a Johnny. That'll help make you feel better if you're observing Christmas today. If you're not working, get yourself a 6-pack of Johnny Cuba. Sedanos, Presidente, Winn-Dixie, Fresco y Mas. I heard they got great holiday specials on 6-packs of Johnny's right now, okay? Johnny Cuba, it's European roots with a Caribbean soul. Start your evening with a refreshing German lager in a can. And don't forget, always drink responsibly. And remember Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. So you got the Heat back in action tonight. They have Minnesota. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are questionable. And after all the good that the Heat built up, 4-0 road trip, they're going to try and get a win on this homestand. So 2 more games on this homestand tonight, and then the Lakers on Wednesday night, which I already told you, I'm not so sure that LeBron is playing in that game on Wednesday because the Lakers are at the Magic tomorrow night. If LeBron plays, and again, the Lakers played yesterday afternoon, right? If LeBron plays at the Magic on Tuesday night, he's not playing the second night of a back-to-back. Now, maybe he'll sit out the game against Orlando, say, hey, let me get an extra day of rest, and then I'll play in Miami. Hope that's the case. We'd like to see LeBron play. But, for folks who maybe a post-Christmas present, buyer beware. I don't know that LeBron, my guess is LeBron is not playing on Wednesday night. But anyway, the Heat have Minnesota tonight. Towns is out. Butler and Adebayo are questionable. I hope they both play. Like, I know Jimmy didn't play in the fourth quarter of the game against Indiana and the loss on Friday night. I think they both need to play through it. Like, this team is now 16-17. They blew the goodwill that they created from winning the 4 games on the road there, where finally, for the first time this season, they were over 500. Now 0-2 to start this homestand. A bad loss against Chicago and a killer on Friday against Indiana. And now they're 16-17. They're in the 9th spot right now. And it really does kind of feel like the way that, all the injuries and everything, it really does kind of feel like the Heat are content with just making the playoffs. And when I say just making the playoffs, like, yeah, we're going to be top 10, meaning like they'll get into the play-in. I wouldn't be 1,000% sure that if the Heat are in the play-in, that they're going to get out of the play-in. You know, if you finish 9-10, you lose once, you're done. You got to win 2 games. You lose once, you're done. If you finish 7-8, you win that one and you're in, but the competition's tougher. You lose the next one, you're out if you don't win that first one. So I'm not 100% sure, because you look at 5 teams. These 5 teams are definitely going to make the top 6, right? Boston, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Philadelphia. Those 5 are making the top 5. They're going to be in the top 6, those 5. So there's one spot available. Right now, it's New York. Now, New York has followed their 8-game win streak with 3 losses in a row. I don't think anyone really believes in New York yet. So it feels like one of the top 6 is available. And that's New York, who's in that spot right now. Then you got Atlanta, who the hell knows what's going on with them. You got Indiana. I don't know if anyone believes in Indiana long term. I mean, they've had a great above expectation first half of the season. And then you got Miami and Toronto rounding out the top 10 there. So it kind of feels like you only have one of the top 6 spots that are available. So I'm not so sure that the Heat are getting that spot. And it kind of feels like they're just content with, yeah, we'll make the playoffs in some fashion, 1 through 10, and we'll go from there. And I don't know if that's the strategy to be had, man. It's hard to argue that is not their MO right now, especially if tonight rolls around and Butler and Bam aren't playing through it. I like to see them play through it. So how about Friday night, man? Friday night, they lose to Indiana. You get Tyler Hero, who hits a 3 late to tie the game. Really cool. He's awesome. Jimmy didn't play in the fourth quarter. It's his ankle, right? And Tyrese Halliburton, man, I'll remember, that trade last year, that trade's worked out for both teams. Remember, it was Sabonis to Sacramento, Halliburton and Hield to Indiana. If anything, I would say Indiana won that trade, but Sacramento's having a great year, and Sabonis is a really good player. But Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin that they drafted this year, they're on their way to rebuilding that thing, Indiana. They're having a great season right now, based on what you thought they were going to be. Anyway, so Halliburton finishes the game with 43 points and 10 threes. With the game on the line, the Heat get involved in a switch, and it switches Lowry onto Halliburton, and Lowry backs off because Hero's there and he's helping, and Hero clearly thinks that there's a trap, and Lowry is playing off him at the free throw line. Why the hell would you play off him? He's got 40 points and 9 threes, and there's only a couple seconds remaining. What are you playing off him for? You playing a zone, Kyle? What are you playing off him for? And then you get this miscommunication, and Hero then moves back to whoever it was, maybe it was Mathurin, and he's just wide open, Halliburton. Why is Lowry not trapping there? What is he dropping back into coverage for? What's he doing? And Halliburton hits the game-winning 3, and the Heat, no timeouts left, so Hero has to chuck it up from half court, no good, and the Heat lose. Just a bonehead defensive possession from Lowry. I'm so tired of watching Kyle Lowry. He never wants to shoot. He never drives. He'll hit, that's his whole game. Shoot threes. That's his whole game. And he's not the defender he was. A little bit of a turnstile out there. And then you get that blunder, which cost the Heat the game at the very end. I'm so over having to watch Kyle Lowry on a nightly basis. So the Heat tonight are going to try and get a win on this homestand. And then you got the Panthers, man. Oh, my God. The Panthers on Friday night at the Islanders, they get their ass kicked. What was the final? 5-1, I think, 4-1? I think it was 5-1. Panthers were up 1-0 after the first period. And then the rest of the game, I mean, it looked like they quit. It really did. I'm tired of hearing about the injuries from the Panthers as well. It looked like they quit out there. They were getting crushed as far as shots on goal. And, give up 2 goals in the second, 2 goals in the third. And it's not even like Bobrovsky was terrible. He was getting no help in front of him. The Panthers were not getting good scoring chance. Like I said, the Panthers lead the NHL in shots on goal, and they were getting killed in shots on goal on Friday nights. Now, the Islanders are good, but the Panthers stink. And Ekblad got hurt. He left the game and didn't return. they're back to just being the Panthers, an embarrassing franchise. We had 2 good years. And instead of, keeping that going and continue to be a Stanley Cup team, they've totally changed the style of this team. Paul Maurice, the murderer of fun, it's impressive almost, has taken this team from a fun run and gun team, a Stanley Cup contender, to a team that is very tough to watch and maybe quit on Friday nights. That looked like a team that quit. It really did. And I know, here's the part that I don't get. Andrew Brunt was fired, and I didn't have a problem with that because I wanted them to bring in a coach that had some experience. For a team that's a Stanley Cup contender, I felt like bringing in a coach that has some experience is not a bad move, all right? But can we keep the same style of play? So for a team that they get rid of Andrew Brunt because, hey, we have Stanley Cup aspirations, and losing in the second round and losing the way we did in the second round, not acceptable. They trade Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar. You know what you did, Mackenzie Weegar. I don't care about him being traded. They trade Jonathan Huberdeau for Tkachuk because you got an opportunity here for a player who is 6 years younger, and they've won that trade. The Panthers won that trade. But you make that trade because, losing in the second round the way they did is unacceptable for a Stanley Cup contending team. So we're going to make a blockbuster trade, and we're going to bring in a blockbuster player. All right. So if you're making huge changes like that because losing in the second round is not acceptable, what the F is this? What the hell am I watching right now? How is this style of play? How is this production right now? How is any of this acceptable? If we're talking about we made moves in the offseason because losing the way we did is unacceptable. This team is competing for a Stanley Cup. What the hell are we watching right now? How is this acceptable? What are we doing here? And they're killing me. It's brutal to watch on a nightly basis. It's one thing we're pissed off with the Heat too. All right, but I don't find the Heat, the Heat aren't a brutal watch. This is they play their style. We know this style. The Panthers, on the other hand, it's a tough watch, man. And Friday night looked like they quit. They are not fun to watch. And the worst part is you gained so many fans last year. Not only because they were awesome, but because the style of play and the way they were playing was fun and was awesome. And if you take that person back to a game now this year, what the fuck am I watching? What am I watching? What is this? It's such a killer. They're killing me. It's every single night. It's all right, I'm going to sit down. And 60 minutes of aggravation because I'm going to watch. I love them. But I'm preparing myself. Next up, Thursday night, Montreal. You got a long break here because of Christmas. Thursday night, Montreal, right here, FLA Live Arena. Going to sit down and prepare for 60 minutes. 60 minutes of bullshit. Going to prepare for 60 minutes of aggravation. That's what I got in store. Last year, oh my God, you get 60 minutes of so much fun. And now this year, I got 60 minutes of guaranteed bullshit and aggravation. It's really frustrating, as you can tell. Let's get to big deal or not a big deal. Come on now. You know how we wrap up every show with big deal or not a big deal. You know what? Let me do real quick. Let me update the poll question for you here today. ZASLOW Show 2.0 poll question. Very controversial. Go to @ZASLOW Show on Twitter. Miami Dolphins fan confidence level. Your options are they win the last two, they lose the last two, or they split the last two. And right now, the leader at 44% of the vote is they split the last two. So get on out there and vote. ZASLOW Show 2.0 poll question today. Big deal or not a big deal? Tonight, for the first time in forever, there is no live WWE Raw. That's right. Raw is a best of type show this evening. Big deal or not a big deal? That's a big deal. I mean, that never happens. So I don't have my stories tonight, but the Heat are in action, so I can at least devote all my attention to the Heat. You got Monday Night Football, which is the Chargers and Colts. That's small TV in ZASLOW Mansion family room. But a best of type Raw show tonight, that's a big deal. Very rare that you get that. Big deal or not a big deal? Adrian Wojnarowski reported over the weekend that James Harden would consider a return to Houston after this year. If he can't strike a long-term deal, I guess, with Philadelphia, he would consider a return to Houston. This is not a big deal because there's no chance this is true. There's no chance this is accurate. If anything, Harden's camp plants this information to Woj to put pressure on Philadelphia. But why the hell would James Harden want out of Houston because he wants to win for the first time, and then wanted out of Brooklyn because he wants to win first time, is then going to want out of Philadelphia and go back to one of the worst teams in the league, Houston, who, yes, has a young core and might be, up and coming in a couple years? There is no chance this story is accurate. Not a big deal. Also, how about Nickelodeon yesterday? So Nickelodeon had the Broncos and Rams game. The Rams won 51-14. Russell Wilson was terrible. Russell Wilson was so bad that Patrick Star from SpongeBob was crushing him in broadcast.
Second and long, and the Broncos, and those are the big horsey players, they have the ball, and they're going to see if they can find a way to move it.
Oh, nice.
And so what's happening? Oh, there's Russ Wilson. Oh, no! Oh, that's called an interception.
That's close. Bobby Wagner.
That's not what he wanted to cook.
No, I think he burnt whatever he was cooking. Bobby Wagner with the interception. The SoCal kid back home. Patrick, how exciting is that?
Bobby Wagner coming to town and doing that with his old team,
Very
man.
embarrassing. Patrick Star is crushing Russell Wilson. That's a big deal. It's a big deal because it might be one of the worst trades in NFL history because you then consider the contract and the money that they owe him. This is just the first year. That's a big deal. Terrible for the Broncos. Big deal or not a big deal, the Warriors took it to the Grizzlies yesterday on Christmas Day. The Grizzlies, one of the best teams in the West. The Warriors are very good at home, but they can't win on the road. So as a result, they're right in the middle. They're very average. The Warriors crush them, though. This is a budding rivalry. This is one of the best rivalries in the league now. These teams hate each other. They do a lot of jawing back and forth, a lot of talking. John Morant during the game. And here's Klay Thompson after the game.
Klay, they've said that you guys are old, that the road to the championship goes through Boston, not necessarily Golden State. I think you showed Dylan Brooks what you think about all that, but what message did you want to send tonight?
Man, they was talking about dynasty and all that. You can't talk dynasty when you haven't won before. I don't think people realize how hard that is, the commitment and sacrifice it takes. I mean, you got to sacrifice your body. And I thought that was premature talk, to even mention that word. But they bring the best out of us, and I think we do the same. And even though you don't like them, you got to respect them because they're a threat.
Thank you, Klay. Merry Christmas to you.
No problem. Thank you.
I love it, man. I love it. It's so much better than all the hugging and kissing on each other, these guys. The NBA, everybody's friends. Nah, how about we get back to rivalries? How about we get back to, I hate the guy on the other team. Let's do that. As long as nothing steps over the line, no fighting or anything like that. The trash talking doesn't have to step over the line either. These teams hate each other. That's interesting for the viewer. That's exciting. Instead of everyone hugging and kissing on each other before and after the game. I hate that garbage. This I like. That's a big deal. Finally here, I got one more for you. Big deal or not a big deal? So, this really makes me angry. Over the weekend, the Charlotte Hornets and the Los Angeles Lakers played, and at the game in LA, you got Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges, who had been with the Hornets, he's a free agent right now. He was sitting front row under the basket. There are rumors, Wojciechowski said, that talks are gaining traction between the Hornets signing and bringing back Miles Bridges, who's a good player, but did not get signed to a free agent contract because he was accused and then pleaded no contest for beating up his girlfriend, the mother of his children, for beating her up in front of his children. And he got pictures that the woman put out. She's all beat up. It's disgusting, all right? And certainly, if he were to sign with an NBA team, I would imagine there will be a suspension in place from the NBA. But the fact that a team, and in this case it's Charlotte, is willing to bring him back, It's disgusting. I'll never understand how you let guys who beat up women back in your locker room. I'll never understand it. But my major problem here is, so after the game, LeBron James goes right on over to Miles Bridges, dapping him up, yucking it up, laughing with each other, smiling with each other. LeBron, you're disgusting. It's disgusting. Because here's the thing. LeBron, he says one thing, but his actions are another thing. He doesn't stand for anything, LeBron James. LeBron James can tweet out one day, we have to protect our black women, and then you're over there and you're yucking it up with Miles Bridges, who beat up this woman in front of her children. I mean, LeBron can talk about we got to protect, our black women, and then Deshaun Watson is accused of what he's doing. And when he signs the richest contract in NFL history, LeBron's congratulating Deshaun Watson. He stands for nothing, this LeBron James. For nothing. And you know what it is? Robert Sarver. Okay, Robert Sarver, they're selling the team. He's getting out of the league. Good, get out of here. I mean, he's clearly not a good guy, all right? But Robert Sarver, he does what he does. The investigation happens, and LeBron can tweet out, there's no place in our league for this kind of behavior. But crickets, when it comes to beating up women? Is there a place in our league for beating up women, LeBron? Is there a place? Is there a place for that? It looks like there is. I mean, LeBron's yucking it up with him after the game. Can you imagine? Guy beats up a woman in front of his children. Her children, too. LeBron just yucks it up. There's no place in our league for Robert Sarver. But there's a place in our league for women beaters. And especially if you're with Clutch Sports, which is who Miles Bridges is represented by. So there is absolutely a place in the league for men who beat up women, as long as you're with Clutch Sports. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. That's a big deal. It's disgusting. I'm sorry to end the show like that. Somebody say something funny. All right. So you got the Heat tonight. The Heat are home against Minnesota. If you win tonight, then Wednesday you split this homestand. All right. That not a good start to the week. Not a good start to the week. You got Monday Night Football tonight, like I said. No Monday Night Raw. Panthers are not back in action until Thursday. So there you have it. Hey, like I said, these are weird shows to do the day after a huge loss, because we got to bitch and moan and complain. So I really appreciate everybody hanging out. I hope that you were able to enjoy the show a little bit today. Maybe we made you laugh once or twice. I don't know. Great job by everybody involved in putting together the show today. Terrific work by everyone involved. Again, like, rate, comment, do all that good stuff for the algorithm. That helps out your boy. Tell your family, your friends. I love you long time. We'll talk to you on ZASLOW Show 2.0 tomorrow. You know what that means.